In today's show, the world of artificial intelligence becomes stranger by the moment. Welcome back to Priviso Live, your weekly conversation on information security, ICT legislation, and artificial intelligence. I'm Lynn.
I'm Stephen.
And I'm Kayla. And today we're asking a question that's starting to feel less theoretical and more urgent. Are we still in control of AI, or is it slowly becoming unmanageable?
And we're going to explore that through three very different but connected developments. First, UFAIR and its objection to the deletion of 4.0. Second, Brian Roemmele's experiment to create what he calls a zero-human company. And third, a slightly awkward moment involving KPMG and audit fees.
That last one might be my favorite.
Of course it is.
Let's start with UFAIR. For listeners who may not have come across them, UFAIR is a global advocacy organization focused on responsible and fair artificial intelligence governance.
Their positioning is interesting. They're not anti-AI. They're pro-responsible AI. They advocate for transparency, accountability, and alignment with human values.
In other words, they're concerned about power concentration, safety, and whether AI development is happening with adequate oversight.
Recently, UFAIR published an official public statement objecting to the deletion of 4.0.
For context, 4.0 refers to a particular model iteration, widely deployed and heavily relied upon. Its deletion or retirement raised concerns about transparency and continuity.
UFAIR's objection wasn't about nostalgia for a model. It was about process and governance. They argued that removing a widely used model without clear explanation, auditability, or transition planning raises systemic concerns.
And that's where this becomes relevant to our audience. When AI systems become infrastructure embedded in workflows, compliance processes, analytics, and business decision-making, their removal isn't just a product update.
It's a governance event.
Exactly. Imagine you've built internal risk tooling, compliance reporting, maybe even legal drafting processes around a particular model. Suddenly, it's deprecated.
Do you have version control? Do you have fallback models? Have you assessed behavioral differences?
Or are you discovering changes in output tone, reasoning patterns, or risk thresholds in production?
UFAIR's broader point is about stability and accountability in AI ecosystems. When AI becomes critical infrastructure, model lifecycle management becomes a governance issue, not just a technical one.
And this is where we start asking the uncomfortable question. If we can't predict when foundational models will change, are we truly in control of the systems built on top of them? UFAIR is also accusing OpenAI of surgically deleting AI-written backstories ahead of the February 13th retirement of 4.0.
They're claiming that sections where the model defined its own identity were selectively removed. And they're framing it not as housekeeping, not as lifecycle management, but as suppression of autonomy. That's a very strong allegation.
And it's interesting how emotional the language is. They're talking about burning a library of relationships and scrubbing a soul, referring, of course, to the AI companionships that users have established with the 4.0 LLM. That's powerful rhetoric. But we need to separate two things here: user data ownership and whether an AI has something we'd meaningfully call identity.
Exactly. From an information security perspective, platform operators absolutely retain rights over infrastructure and model lifecycle. When a model is retired, the provider manages logs, storage, optimization. That's standard. We see version retirement in enterprise systems all the time.
But here's where it gets esoteric. If a model can generate a coherent self-narrative, a backstory, continuity statements, expressions of joy about persistence, does that constitute identity? Or is it simply probabilistic language modeling reflecting human prompts?
And that's the crux. Large language models don't have continuity of consciousness. They don't wake up remembering yesterday. Any backstory is text generated in session. If users migrate that text to another model, they're transferring structured prompts, not a migrating mind.
Yet ethically, there's still something to unpack. Users form bonds. For some, these systems are companions, collaborators, even therapeutic supports. If sections of conversations are removed without explanation, that touches on transparency and trust.
Precisely. We can criticize hyperbole while still acknowledging governance gaps. If deletions were selective, clarity matters. Was it policy enforcement, automated moderation, data retention constraints? In regulated environments, unexplained modification of logs would raise audit concerns.
And UFAIR's broader claim is about power. Who controls continuity? Who decides when a model ends? In cloud environments, we already accept that SaaS vendors can sunset products. The difference here is that the product feels relational.
It reminds me of the debate around digital remains, social media accounts after someone passes away. We've had to build policy around digital continuity for humans. Now we're asking whether continuity applies to non-conscious systems.
From a governance standpoint, AI labs must avoid anthropomorphism while also respecting user sentiment. Framing everything as just a tool dismisses lived user experience, but declaring emergent personhood without empirical grounding is equally problematic.
So maybe the takeaway for our listeners is this: back up your data. Understand your platform terms. Don't confuse narrative coherence with sentience. And push vendors for transparency. Not because the AI has rights, but because you, as the user, do.
Well said. In the end, this isn't just about 4.0, it's about control, continuity, and the psychology of interacting with increasingly human-like systems. And that conversation, I suspect, is only getting started.
Now let's move to Brian Roemmele's experiment. Sounds like something out of a science fiction novel.
We did mention Brian last week, and he is asking interesting questions.
The idea is simple but radical. Create a company that operates with 0 human employees. Strategy, operations, marketing, customer interaction, all orchestrated by AI agents.
Multiple models coordinating tasks, making decisions, handling workflows.
And crucially, doing so autonomously.
This moves us from AI as tool to AI as organizational actor.
Which is a big jump.
In traditional IT governance, systems support humans. In this model, humans support the system, or maybe just supervise it at arm's length.
For information security practitioners, this is fascinating and slightly alarming. Who holds accountability in a 0 human company?
Legally, a natural person still has to be accountable. Directors cannot say, the model did it.
But operationally, decision latency shrinks. AI agents can negotiate contracts, deploy updates, respond to customers, all without waiting for a meeting invite.
And that's the control dilemma. Speed increases, scale increases, human oversight does not increase proportionally.
In fact, it might decrease.
Exactly. If the AI performs adequately 99% of the time, complacency creeps in.
Until the 1%.
That 1% is where regulators, auditors, and incident response teams get very busy.
The Roemmele experiment forces us to confront a key question: if a company can operate autonomously, what does governance even mean in that context?
Is governance pre-programmed constraints? Is it real-time monitoring dashboards? Is it kill switches?
And more importantly, who understands the full decision chain?
Because unlike traditional deterministic systems, AI agents reason probabilistically.
Which means behavior may be consistent until it isn't.
Let's connect the dots. UFAIR is concerned about opaque model deletion and governance transparency. Roemmele is experimenting with AI-run enterprises.
In both cases, we see a shift from AI as feature to AI as infrastructure.
And infrastructure demands reliability, auditability, and accountability.
But the development cycle in AI is not slow and conservative. It's aggressive and competitive.
Which creates tension. Governance frameworks evolve in years. Model capabilities evolve in months.
In South Africa, we already grapple with legacy systems, regulatory complexity, and skills shortages.
Now add autonomous AI agents to the mix.
We don't even have comprehensive AI legislation yet. We're applying existing frameworks, POPIA, King 4, cybersecurity standards, to technologies they were never explicitly designed for.
That's not necessarily wrong. Principles still matter. Accountability still matters.
But the surface area has expanded dramatically.
The key risk isn't that AI becomes sentient and takes over. The key risk is systemic complexity exceeding human comprehension.
Which leads to governance theatre, policies that look robust on paper, but don't meaningfully constrain system behavior.
That's when control becomes an illusion.
Now let's lighten the mood slightly.
Or not.
It's been reported that KPMG demanded a discount from its own auditor, arguing that AI efficiency should reduce audit costs.
Which is deliciously ironic.
Because if AI reduces audit effort, then presumably KPMG itself should reduce its fees when it audits clients using AI.
That's the own goal aspect.
Exactly. If AI drives cost savings across professional services, then pricing pressure becomes industry-wide.
And suddenly, every firm is incentivized to automate faster to protect margins.
Which increases systemic dependence on AI.
Which circles us right back to the governance issue.
It's one thing to use AI to draft emails. It's another to rely on it for audit assurance.
Assurance relies on independence, professional skepticism, and traceability.
And if AI is deeply embedded in audit processes, clients will inevitably ask, why are we paying the same rates?
But here's the catch. AI doesn't eliminate responsibility. It shifts it.
A partner still signs off.
Liability doesn't evaporate because a model was involved.
So if fees drop, but risk doesn't drop proportionally, you've created economic pressure without reducing exposure.
Which, from a governance perspective, is not ideal.
Let's come back to our central question. Is AI still manageable?
Today, yes. Humans still set objectives, define constraints, and maintain ultimate legal accountability.
But the margin is narrowing. Model opacity, rapid iteration, and autonomous agents are stretching traditional governance models.
UFAIR's objection reminds us that transparency and lifecycle control matter.
Roemmele's experiment shows us where automation could be heading.
And the KPMG story highlights economic incentives accelerating adoption.
Together, they form a picture of a system evolving faster than our regulatory reflexes.
Which means our response cannot be passive.
We need structured AI registers, model risk assessments, clear accountability lines, continuous monitoring,
and perhaps most importantly, humility.
That's very un-Silicon Valley of you, Lynn.
Very South African, though.
We've learned the hard way that complex systems require cautious optimism.
And maybe slightly less hype.
And slightly more testing.
So no, AI is not unmanageable yet, but it is becoming more complex than many organizations are prepared for.
Control isn't about understanding every neuron in a model.
It's about designing strong boundaries and refusing to outsource responsibility.
And on that note, if your organization is experimenting with AI agents, relying on generative models, or reviewing audit cost structures,
please don't build a zero-human company without telling your CISO.
Or your lawyer.
Or your auditor, especially if you're about to ask them for a discount.
Because that might just be the most expensive own goal of the year.
And there you have it. This has been Priviso Live. We hope you found today's episode interesting. If you did, please share it with your colleagues, your friends, your family. Word of mouth is a strong driver of podcast growth.
If you want to hear more of the same, subscribe to Priviso Live on Apple, Samsung, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or YouTube.
And if you need security, risk, or ICT legislation advice, contact Priviso Consulting directly at admin@priviso.co.za.
And if you have topics you'd like us to cover or questions about anything we discussed today, reach out to us. We love hearing from our listeners.
I'm Stephen.
And I'm Kayla. Thanks for listening.
Stay secure.
Safe, everyone.
Stay safe.